that needs to be planted.
What we do in life, it goes in eternity.
Transcending time and space, let us take you to the place inside your mind where thoughts divide and mysteries unwind. Join us every Monday evening right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you will catch the Fenton Perspective with our great host, Lorian Fenton. Come listen in as she shares her amazing stories from the past to present, along with all of her guest secrets to the future. That's the Fenton Perspective every Monday evening right here from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Revolution Radio. Oh, and you don't need to expect us. We're already here.
These guys are hammers, and to hammers everything looks like nails.
I heard that.
You were meant to. So you see something that's important, you call it out, and we'll make it happen.
Okay. Mother Nature is a serial killer. No one's better, more creative. Like all serial killers, she can't help the urge to want to get caught. What good are all those brilliant crimes if no one takes the credit? So she leaves crumbs. Now the hard part is seeing the crumbs for the clues they are. Sometimes the thing you thought was the most brutal aspect turns out to be the chink in its armor. And she loves disguising her weaknesses as strengths.
If you can fight, fight.
Head north if you can. Hello? Is there anyone out there hearing this?
Help each other.
Mexico City has been declared complete loss.
Be prepared for anything. Our war has just begun.
We are the hammers, and we are the nails. The world stands upon the precipice of total insanity, and we need you, and we hope you need us, bringing information, news, and as much truth as we can eke out before Mother Nature turns us to crumbs. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, working to become millions of voices singing in unison to bring the sanity back home.
Enter into a world unseen on Raven Star's Witching Hour. You will encounter eclectic topics from the realm of spirit brought into our matrix of truth. With your host, the Solaris Blue Raven. Solaris will bring you an array of unique guests covering topics from ghostly spirits to amazing anomalies, covert technology, UFOs, and shadowy global events.
And that's right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, Saturdays midnight till 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Let the magic rise.
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
downloaded to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk Now Radio, listener-supported radio, where information never sleeps. I'm sorry, I'm getting that one mixed up with Revolution, where no topic is taboo. Brought to you by Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps, which they're both listener-supported. And I don't know why I did that, but bear with me anyway, folks. Today we're going to be having Kevin Falzon back. If y'all remember the last time he was on the show, we kind of ran out of time, and there were some things we wanted to go more in depth on. So me and him have talked about it since that last show, and he's agreed to do a 1-hour show today and 2 other 2-hour shows. And what we're going to try to do is break down one of his books in each show and go in more depth in each one a little at a time, so we can get more of the information out here for everybody. So how you doing today, Kevin?
I'm fine, thank you, Royce.
Alrighty. Now, I believe we may already discussed talking about the Bible paradox today. I guess, why don't we start by giving everybody a brief rundown of what the Bible paradox is about, kind of like a summary?
Yes, okay. First of all, thanks for having me on your show. The Bible paradox is the first book of the Arcana Trilogy. And I started to collect all the information I could find from 15 books in the Bible. From the book of Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Joshua, the books of Kings 1 and 2, Chronicles 1 and 2, Maccabees, Samuel, and the 4 Gospels. So I gathered information from these 15 books and came out with some stunning results.
Okay.
And the subtitle of the book says "The Search for Yahweh, an envious, wrathful, and vengeful extraterrestrial," which it is true, because the gods, mythological gods, and the angels are all extraterrestrials. Well, in the Bible, they just refer to them as angels. But in truth, in today times, you just refer to them as extraterrestrials, extra-dimensional beings. The book starts from the birth of Moses and wraps up with the death of Jesus. So that's about 1,500 years of unconventional study, of unconventional history. Go on.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that's a lot.
It is a lot. Yes, I squeezed a lot of information in, about, just over 300 pages in one book. But I just left the book of Genesis out from these 15 books of the Bible, because I dedicated 2 books for the book of Genesis, which is the Gospel of Forbidden Truth, the second book of the Trilogy, and Quantum Gnosis, which is the concluding book of the Trilogy. Because I find the book of Genesis very, very interesting, very enigmatic, and I just compare it with the book of the Apocalypse. So to speak, it's like Alpha and Omega, the starting book of the Bible and the concluding book of the Bible, which is the book of Revelations.
The Alpha and Omega, all in one book.
Yes. So I just put them in these 2 books, the Gospel of Forbidden Truth and Quantum Gnosis. But I just sort of gathered all the information, well, not all the information, but a lot of information, the hottest information I could find in these 15 books, which I mentioned, 4 from the Torah, Exodus, and so forth, and put them in the Bible paradox. once I was talking to a Capuchin friar, and he told me there is one rule that while reading the Bible, a person must not break. And I told him, what's that? He said, when reading the Bible, we must not use astronomy or history or archaeology or any sort of science. And I told him the first time that I started to crack codes is when I broke this rule. I used sciences to crack the codes of the Bible, because the Bible is full of codes. You know, the Bible, it's for sale everywhere, but nobody is going to tell you where the gnosis is, where the information is, you know, because the church has a lot to hide from us. Just like, you know, it's the system, you know, the church is part of the system. They don't want to give us, this is like when Yahweh sort of created Adam and Eve, and he didn't want to let them partake from the tree of good and bad, which is the fruit of knowledge. So that's what the system is doing to us, so to say.
Uh-huh. Okay, so what did you come up with when you were going through these 15 books that you would have defined as paradoxes?
Yes, well, to start off, I started with Moses, first of all, in the Bible paradox. Moses is a very, very complicated character. It's a very enigmatic person. And well, I'm not going to address the issue about his nationality, whether it was Egyptian or Hebrew, because I left that in the other books. I'm just going to start with Moses about his relation with Yahweh, and not only with Yahweh, with other gods, because this is important. The Hebrews were not a monotheistic cult, a monotheistic community. They worshipped other gods. For example, we find many details in Exodus. Not in ancient, in the text.
Oh, okay.
But you have to correct these codes. You know, they are there, but when you read them at face value, you don't see the essence in the verses of the Bible. You just have to read it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times to get it. You don't just have to read it casually. The Bible, it's not a book that you enjoy reading. The Bible, it's a very complicated book. So the first incident when I realized that Moses not necessarily worshipped but had contacts with other extraterrestrials was when he was living in the land of Midian. When he was, the Bible tells us that Moses was chased out of Egypt because he killed an Israelite. So he spent the following 40 years in the land of Midian. And there, at the age between 79 and 80, Moses was drawn to a certain place on what the Bible calls the mountain of God, where on it there was this bush which was aflame. So Moses went to have a look, because he said, why the bush? It's on fire, but it's not being consumed by the fire. So he went to check it out. And when he approached the tree, the bush, there was a presence which spoke to Moses from the tree and told him, well, after a lot of conversation, the extraterrestrial, which was in the appearance of the extraterrestrial was in a fire form, gave Moses the order to go to Egypt to free the Israelites from their bondage. That's how the sacred author interprets the narrative. So, but Moses is a bit skeptic about this mission, and he also feels that he's not up to the task. So when he shows this skepticism, the angel or the extraterrestrial tells Moses, what's that in your hand? And he shows him the staff of the shepherd. The angel tells him to throw it on the ground. And that's what Moses does. And immediately the staff turns into a snake. And I immediately realized here, when the angel told him, this will take place when you go to Egypt, so that the Egyptians will know that I sent you. To me, that will represent Yahweh, or the extraterrestrial, with the serpent. So this could mean that Yahweh is a god serpent, or it was another extraterrestrial besides Yahweh. You get my point?
Keep hearing you, though. Repeat the word Yahweh. Now, Yahshua was the name of Jesus, not the name of Yahweh. Are you referring to Yahweh or to Jesus, but referring to him as Yahweh?
Yahweh. Yeah, it's my pronunciation, perhaps.
Okay, but it's of Jesus Christ, not of Yahweh, right?
No. Jesus. Well, in the Jewish accent, they used to pronounce it Yeshua for Jesus, but for Yahweh in English you say Yahweh.
Okay, I understand now. Okay, I just wanted to make sure which person we were referring to.
I'm referring to the God of the Israelites.
Okay, I got you. Just making sure that that's who it was, because I know that's who in the Bible, in the King James Version, it states that an angel of the Lord, not actually God himself. I don't know about other versions, though.
You're talking about the bush incident?
Yeah.
Yes, because at first there is an extraterrestrial presence, which the sacred author says, an angel of the Lord. But then the Lord himself speaks out from the bush. At least that's what there is written in the texts. I have several Bibles here. I have the American Bible, the King James Bible, the Apocryphal Bible. I have about 4 different Bibles, but I mainly use the Apocryphal Bible, the American Bible. Well, they all have different versions, and they all tell you different things. It's amazing, because if you compare a modern day Bible with a 200-year-old Bible, you're not going to find the same things. In the last 100 years, there were 19 or 20 different editions of the same Bible. So just imagine all the information that was brushed aside, concealed by the ecclesiastical authority in order to not, to keep the truth from us. Just twisting the word and tampering with the texts. Anyways, this was just one incident in which Moses actually is described interacting with a snake god, so to say. But there was other incidents in which Moses used occult from the serpent magic, so to say, serpent magic, yes. Like, for example, when he went with his brother around to the palace in Memphis to confront the Pharaoh, and he just cast the rod of the shepherd or of God on the floor, and it turned into a serpent, and it swallowed up the both serpents of the Pharaoh's magicians. Another incident is when the people were punished by Yahweh, by the God of the Israelites, because they were complaining for the food, and Yahweh sent poisonous serpents. And people started to complain because they were bitten, and they asked Moses to speak to God for them, and Yahweh relented, and so Yahweh instructed Moses to make a bronze serpent. So that's another clue. Why all these serpents in the cult of Yahweh?
Yeah, especially after it was the serpent who gave the knowledge. and
Yes,
was
that's
punished
it.
in the first place. That's kind of contradictory, isn't it? And that would
is.
also be a paradox too, wouldn't it?
But I recently found out that the snake is actually is actually the symbol not only of knowledge or of wisdom, spiritual wisdom, but it's also the symbol of life, because it's connected to the Egyptian ankh, the Egyptian cross. And in a 16th century German coin, on the obverse side of the coin, there is the crucifixion, Jesus on the cross, and on the reverse side of the coin, there is a cross and the snake on it.
Kind of equating Jesus with the serpent.
Yes. So this gnosis, this hidden knowledge, it's actually in the Bible, in between lines. But you have to be careful to read it not just once, because you'll go over it and you won't even realize that you've skipped a very important clue, so to say, that will get you to another clue. And then you will find the result by combining all the work together. Anyways, well, Moses is a very, very intriguing character. And when he returned to Egypt after the extraterrestrial, talked to him by the bush, he returned to Egypt at the age of 80. And there he attempted to free the Israelites. But I believe in the Bible paradox. In fact, I hypothesize that the Israelites or the Hebrews were never freed by the Pharaoh. They had actually to fight their way out from Egypt. And with them, they carried the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant wasn't made after the Exodus. It was made like 200,000 years, like 2,000 years before the Exodus. So the Exodus, actually, the Ark of the Covenant in the Exodus makes no sense.
Yeah, I know. I've actually read online that the Ark of the Covenant was originally an Egyptian artifact and was used by them for centuries and millennia before the Israelites copycatted it.
No, but there were many arks, but this one ark, it wasn't an Egyptian ark. This was made by extraterrestrials, by semi-divine or extraterrestrial beings. And it has something to do with the fourth dimension, with the Hollow Earth, which is an extension of the fourth dimension, the Hollow Earth. In fact, the Giza pyramids, or the Great Pyramid, it's a stargate. That's a stargate, and it was opened, it was activated in 2012. So when the Israelites took the tools that would activate the stargate, and the priests of Ra told the Pharaoh that the Israelites have escaped, they fought their way out, and with them they took the ark. He pursued them. That's why he pursued them, not because he wanted the slaves back, but the early church fathers, tempered with the texts, not to show us that the Ark of the Covenant, it's much more than the mainstream wants to tell us, than the mainstream wants to have us believe. It's, because we know that we have been taught that the Ark of the Covenant was just the coffer, the container of the Ten Commandments and some other objects. But in truth, it carried power crystals. It carried tools, devices to activate the Great Pyramid. And that is, in that way, the Pharaoh was rendered powerless. So he pursued them across the desert. And also, in the Bible paradox, there is so many things that I say about the escape of the Israelites, it's impossible to bring it all together here and do a summary about it. What I can say is that the Hebrews, being a descendant from the Sumerian people, were sent to Egypt to infiltrate Egypt. They were sent to infiltrate. It started with Abraham in 4,000 years ago, because Abraham was sent from Ur by an extraterrestrial identified in the Bible as, in the book of Genesis, as Yahweh, and he was sent with a mission to infiltrate the West. Because in the same book of Genesis, there is a very good description of a war taking place between the East and the West. The East are the nations under Yahweh, which in Sumerian terms we call Enlil, and the Western domains were under Marduk, him who we call Satan, the enemy of Yahweh, because Satan means, in ancient Hebrew, it means the enemy, the opposer, the rival. And Marduk is the Greek Zeus. So you see, you bring it all together when you start comparing all the myths and all the religions. You start to bring all the Jews, all the essence of the sacred scripture, so to say, of the sacred scripture. But well, the stolen ark, it's a big part of the Exodus. I just want to skip now to something else, because I have written some notes.
Okay, well, he's looking at his notes real quick. I want to remind everybody, if you want to call in and ask questions, the number is 347-688-2902. And if you would like to learn a little bit more about him, you can always go to his website, which is, I got to scroll down to it here, www.seltemedas.com. That's SELTEMEDAS.com. And he has all kinds of information over there. I think you'll find it fascinating, and I think you'll be glad you went over there to visit. Anyway, go ahead now. I just saw an opportunity to get that in there.
Okay. Well, the Hebrews were, when they were in Egypt, the sacred water, the texts were tampered with of the original author, and we have the story that the Hebrews were about the entire population of the Hebrews were about 3 million.
That's
altogether.
Lot.
Yes, it is a lot. In fact, they outnumbered the Egyptian populations in their own land. It doesn't give you the figure in the book of Exodus, but I just realized from the census which Moses took after the Exodus and 40 years later in the land of Moab, before Joshua invades the land of Canaan. Both censuses say that the army of the Israelites was over 600,000 males. That's quite an enormous army for that period of time.
Oh, wait a minute, we got a caller. Are you still with me, Kevin?
I am.
Okay, good. Something happened when I went to add him to our call that it put this call on hold while it answered him at the same time, and I couldn't find the hold button for a minute. Caller, if I accidentally disconnected you, if you would please call in again so I could try to get this right this time. And while he's doing that, oh wait, here he is now. Now, add to group. Caller, are you there?
Can you hear me this time?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you a minute ago, and I accidentally put the show on hold, and then I had to disconnect you to get back to the show.
Oh, sorry about that.
I think it was Skype that needs to apologize. But yeah, go ahead with your question, caller.
Yeah, I hate to interrupt because I'm enjoying listening, but I just wanted to call and maybe if he could clarify a little bit on. I heard him say that Marduk was the same entity as Zeus.
Yes.
And that caught my attention because I've heard another researcher say that Marduk was actually Enlil was Zeus, and Marduk was Enki's son, one of Enki's sons. So
Yes.
Could you help me understand that better?
Okay. Well, I found out. First thing, we can't be 100% correct. These are all theories. We weren't there at that time, so I can say with precision. But according to my studies, which I compared from Greek mythologies, from from Egyptian mythologies, Sumerian mythologies, and so forth, I've made a list of all the gods, of all the extraterrestrials, and found all the names that are equivalent to the Sumerian names. Like, for example, I found that, let me just get the list. I know them by heart, but I want to give you the exact information. Here it is.
Because I don't know if you've heard of a researcher who wrote a book called the Anunnaki of Nibiru. His name's Gerald Clark. He's done a lot of research into the Zachariah Sitchin, and somebody else was trying to say that Marduk was Satan, and he discounted that completely and said, no, that's disinformation, that Marduk was not Satan, that Marduk was the son of Enki who took over Babylon and was fighting Enlil.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true. The last part, it's true. Even Cyrus II, who invaded the Babylonian Empire, the stela that commemorates the victory of Cyrus II, the Persian, on the stela says that he is the Messiah of Marduk. The Messiah means like the savior of Marduk, but the equivalent of Marduk is Satan.
Okay, but
Satan
Marduk
is not a name.
But Marduk, that just, even if you're calling him Satan, that doesn't necessarily mean he was a bad guy, right?
No.
Yeah.
If Satan in ancient Hebrew means the enemy, so in the same line, even Yahweh was the Israelite God, was Satan, because he was fighting the war against Satan, against Marduk. So let me put them in Sumerian terms. Enlil against Marduk. Enlil is Yahweh, the Israelite God.
See, all this can get very confusing, because I've even heard that Jesus Christ means Hell Zeus.
I've never heard that one.
Yeah.
What's that? What's that?
Yeah, so that's why somebody I heard he calls Jesus Yeshua, because he doesn't want to say Jesus Christ because it means Hell Zeus. So I mean,
I never heard that. No.
Yeah.
I never heard that.
So I don't know if this guy's putting out some disinformation or what. He's a disciple of Zachariah Sitchin, and I'm kind of have to question. I don't really totally trust Zachariah Sitchin, so I'm kind of wondering about some of his interpretation of.
What'd you say this guy's name was again?
Zachariah Sitchin.
No, Zachariah Sitchin, his disciple.
Oh, Gerald Clark.
Gerald Clark.
Never heard him.
Yeah, he has his own interpretation. He's a scientist, and so he put together a lot of information to understand the control that they've had over us, yeah, it's a very interesting read. I bought his book. But he, I guess he has his own way of interpreting. He kind of goes by Sitchin's interpretation of things. So.
Well, what I can say is in my list, which I put together, Marduk in Egypt, it's called Ra. He was worshipped as Ra, the god of light, and in fact, Satan is the god of light. And in Hebrew, even the Philistines called him Lucifer. In fact, Satan is an incarnation of Lucifer. Today, there are many incarnations of Lucifer, spiritually speaking. In the Romans called Satan Jupiter. And the Greeks called him Belos. Well, there are many different, because every ancient nation, worshipped the same gods.
Okay, but then
they
if
called
you
him
say
by
that,
different names.
If you say that, then if you say that Marduk was Bel, then he would be an evil entity because children have been sacrificed to Bel.
Yes.
So I don't know. It doesn't make sense. I'm kind of...
all the extraterrestrial gods were called in Canaanite terms. They were all named Baal because Baal, B-A-A-L, means Lord or Master in Canaanite terms. In Hebrew terms, they call them Elohim. El is singular for one master. Elohim is the plural of many extraterrestrials. The Egyptians called them Neteru, angels or extraterrestrials. Today we call them extraterrestrials. At that time they called them angels. Like a messenger of the Lord, of the patron God.
So when someone says God, they could be referring to any number of extraterrestrial gods. Yes,
but when we say God, well, there is only one God. We refer to the creator of all, which is not male and which is not female. It's both and it's everything in the existence. Just, to refer to this very complex entity, to this very complex creator.
Right.
Like, for example, we gave... Go on.
Yeah, so I was going to say, so I don't mean to interrupt. I just, so like Akhenaten, that ruler in Egypt, he was trying to bring forth the one God, the belief in one God. So
yes,
do you believe that it was a benevolent thing to bring into the consciousness of man that there's a one God, or that you think it's better that we have multiple gods?
The extraterrestrial gods, well, there are the good extraterrestrials and the bad extraterrestrials, the good and the bad. The bad ones, they are caught in the fourth dimension, the dimension upon the third dimension, which the third is our dimension. The good ones, they are fifth dimensional extraterrestrials with great knowledge, with great power, six-dimensional beings, seven-dimensional beings, infinite beings. And right now, there is the battle over, the battle between light and darkness. It's been happening for thousands of years, but right now, we have come to the final part of it. This is described also in the book of the Apocalypse, in the Bible. The bad ones, which are demons, they can only attack the humans through possessing our bodies, but the good ones, like our spiritual guides and higher beings, they are always with us. Without knowing, you in your room when you're standing right now, there are from 3 to 4 extraterrestrial beings with you, guiding you, giving you knowledge, what to say, your thoughts. Your thoughts doesn't come from your brain. They come from your inner world, from your inner self.
Okay,
but these extraterrestrials, let me finish this part. The extraterrestrials, the good ones, they are fighting for the good of the universe or for the good of this galaxy. Okay? The bad ones, they want to destroy all the stargates of the earth in order to keep the human being from ascending into higher consciousness. And that's why the Illuminati are working so hard, to conquer the East, because there are so many stargates in the east, and I mean all over the world. But they want to conquer all the Earth, the best places where there are these vortices, and they are making, for example, the US. They have an embassy in each country, and I wonder why.
Yeah, well, how's the average person going to have a chance to go through one of those stargates anyway? I mean, he's saying that the time's going to come where we will have a chance to ascend through a stargate, or what?
Well, it's very simple. It's very simple. You, first of all, the mainstream media, the mainstream, all the mainstream activities, they keep us from discovering our true self. What's our true self? Our true self, it's being good. It's not very hard to be a good person. But for example, we watch all these movies with criminal action in them, and all the swear words, and all the video games with fighting and all these things. This is doing harm to our consciousness.
Yeah.
And well, even the small jest of helping people, that will make you a good person. And the more goodness you do, the more closer you get to ascending. I mean, not in this life, in the next life, because, well, I don't know if you believe in the afterlife, but if we were created to live just, for 60 or 70 years and that's it, I don't think that this great God or this great existence makes any sense. You get my point?
Well, I mean, you can have some very spiritual experiences in this. I mean, I think with, like you said, if we're in the end times, then the good and evil is getting stronger. Like just in the last few years here, I had an experience that changed my life where I made a mistake, and I regret it, but I'm hoping that I can... I'm hoping I can get stronger again. It really affected my health and everything, And so
it's good that you mentioned this. And when you mentioned regret, a bad soul doesn't feel remorse, doesn't feel regret. A good soul, wants to be better. And that regret doesn't come from your mind, it comes from your inner self. And that will make progress in due course. That's a very good thing, in fact.
Yeah, I want to believe that. I guess it's just trying to be positive and when you're dealing with adversity, and trying to make the most of life, Anyway.
Well, you don't have to read. You don't have to be an expert in the Bible or in esoteric things. You just have to be a good person, and that's it.
Right. But what I'm saying is, I've had some real supernatural experiences where whether I do the right thing or do the wrong thing can really have a huge impact on how I feel, my health, and just being able to function. So,
do you practice meditation?
I experience things very intensely, So I haven't really tried gotten into meditation regularly or anything, no.
I used to do meditation quite often, but recently I stopped. I'm more focusing on out of body or astral projection. Have you heard about astral projection? That's very interesting as well.
Yeah, I have a friend who can do that. So anyway, thank you. I'll just listen now. What was your website?
My website is www.seltemedas.com. Let me spell it out for you. SELTEM
SENT
SEL for life.
Oh, okay.
T for Thomas. E again. MEDAS. Seltemedas.
Okay, I got it.
I also pasted it in the chat room, but you may have to scroll up to find it. There's been some talks since then.
Okay.
Seltemedas?
Seltemedas.
Okay. Hey, thank you.
You're welcome, my friend.
And thank you for calling.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, now, we've got about roughly 15 minutes left, so I don't know where you'd like to go with this here. There were some other areas we haven't gotten to you want to fill in for the listeners.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll just continue a bit more on the Hebrews, because there is a very particular part in the history of the Hebrews in Egypt where, when I mentioned that their population in Egypt was 3 million, that's a bit far-fetched. I would accept the 3 million population scattered all over the Egyptian empire, but I wouldn't accept the 3 million Hebrews residing in Goshen, which is the place that Joseph, son of Jacob, acquired for his 11 brothers to live in, during the famine period. You know the Bible, Royce?
Right. Oh, I do.
Okay. So that's the place, Goshen, that Joseph acquired for his brothers. And over a period of 400 years, these people, according to the sacred author, they grew up to an immense population of 3 million. So I just calculated from the censuses which Moses took during the Exodus and after. And I calculated this from the 600,000 soldiers in the army. So what I did is I gave each soldier 3 or 4 wives, because according to Hebrew laws, a man could marry as much women as he wanted. For example, Solomon had 700 concubines and 300 wives. That's quite a...
I'm glad I wasn't Solomon. That'd be more than I could keep up with.
Yeah, but he was a king. He had all the resources to keep them
If he can handle that much, he deserved to be king. but go ahead.
Anyways, so I gave 3 or 4 wives to each soldier, and each soldier with each of his wives, he could have had from 10 to 15 or maybe more children. So that's why these Hebrews expanded so much in their population. But I wouldn't accept that all the 3 million were in living in one place in Goshen. I don't think that the Pharaoh was that stupid, just allowing 3 million hostile Hebrews residing in one place. So the exodus of the 3 million Hebrews departing from Egypt, it's a myth. There is some truth to it, but I just decreased the number from 3 million to 30,000.
That's a big decrease.
Yes, but even 30,000, it's a big number for those days. It's a huge number, in fact.
It's still a big number to caravan across all that many miles of desert and keep everybody alive, much less doing it with 6 million.
It's true. It's true. That's why it doesn't make sense. Even 30,000, to, like you're saying, to travel all those hundreds of miles across desert lands with no food and no drink, it would be impossible. It would be impossible. Anyways, so, the Hebrews were about 30,000. And their army, instead of 600,000, I made it 6,000, which is still a big army for a bunch of tribes. 3,400 years ago, even the Roman Empire struggled with numbers, and just imagine how immense was the Roman Empire, stretched from Britain to Africa, and from the Pillars of Heracles from Spain to Israel. And their army was something over 500,000. And these Hebrews, from 12 tribes, they could raise a 600,000 man army. Anyways, that wasn't the point. But I made a lot of emphasis about these numbers because in the Bible they are not an error. They're not a numerical error. They are there because they keep repeating the 600,000 value figure. They repeated it in the census during the Exodus and again 40 years later, which means that after the 40 years in the desert, their numbers did not decrease by 1,000 human beings, which is impossible. Just imagine all the diseases and all the malnutrition, lack of food, and people dying of thirst. And the difference between the first census and the second was something over 1,000 souls. Okay.
So that's why they had to eat manna from heaven, because they didn't have enough supplies with them. At least that's what the Bible tells us.
Well, the Bible says that they had huge herds of animals as well, like tens of thousands of sheep, tens of thousands of I don't know what. And, and you have to consider that these people sacrificed great numbers of animals each day, for forgiveness, for marriage, for penitence, I don't know, for everything. So they were not using only the animals for food, they were using them as well for sacrifices. So I don't know how they managed to survive 40 years in the desert. And in fact,
which is another question. They didn't have feed for the animals either.
Yes, that's it. That's another thing.
And the animals were barely carrying the human payload, much less adding animal food to it as well. And then you got water for all these animals. And they used camels back then, and you know how much they drank.
Of course. You have to consider everything. That's why the Hebrew Exodus is so interesting when you start to look at it, not from a casual read. You have to analyze it to start enjoying what the sacred order is trying to tell us, because somehow they survived. Now, if the story is true or not, I don't know, but there has been so many other texts, because this story is not only written in the Bible, is written in many different languages. But I'm surprised that the Egyptians don't have any account regarding the Exodus, perhaps because the Hebrews escaped and they put the mighty Egyptian pharaoh to fun, They just had the best of the Egyptian empire, and they just escaped easily, and they just didn't record the event of the Exodus. That's why perhaps they didn't record it, because the monarchy, if there was something that they wouldn't like to record for history to remember, they just tell their scribes to cancel everything. That's how history is written, and it happens today. It's like, the media, the system controls the media. So they just give you what they want you to listen. How much time we have left, Royce?
Okay, we got about 1 or 2 minutes left.
1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah,
okay.
We'll have to hear the music here pretty soon.
Okay, well, there is nothing much to say in 2 minutes. Right. So, I just have a last message.
Okay.
For the listeners out there. It's about truth, which is, this is in page 211 of the Bible Paradox. What is truth? This was the question that Pontius Pilate asked to his wife Claudia. Is truth found in books, in movies, perhaps in images? There is only one way to truth and light. This makes the answer to Pilate's question sound difficult, which is not. What is difficult, however, is to accept the answer as reality. All the material we consider informative does not assist us on our evolution, but adds more to the blockage, adds to the distance between our physical selves and the knowing. It makes us blind to the real state of affairs. The material world is made up of illusions. The real truth is inside of us, which is the only place where we do not search. Thank you very much, Royce.
Oh, thank you for coming. And folks, he's going to be back again on July the 3rd, and we're going to have a little more time to go into depth on that day. And it's going to be, well, I put the title, The Thing About God and Religion, but which book was it we were supposed to talk about on that, the next one on July 3rd?
The next one, The Gospel of Forbidden Truth.
The Gospel of Forbidden Truth. I don't know why I didn't put that on my schedule that way, but I'll change it right after the show.
It's the second book of the trilogy.
Okay, and we're going to cover that one next week, and he's going to be in for both hours next time. After the break time, I'll be back here by myself. If you guys want to call in and start an open topic, feel free.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Hello, I'm Benjamin.
And I'm Jasmine.
We are inner tour guides with black belts in the art of self-awareness and how to live a passionate life.
We love talking with you about what you have and what you want.
More importantly, we want to explore with you how to bridge the gap between that wanting and bring it right back to the having.
So what are your hopes, dreams, and desires?
Is it money, love, success, health, wealth, or something even more specific?
Let us guide you through the exciting adventure of turning what you want into what you have.
Come join in the conversation on our show, The Inner Revolution.
We look forward to exploring with you.
The finder of lost children and missing persons. Monique Lassan. Surveillance civil and criminal investigations. I investigate.
No, I am the chosen one.
Do not underestimate the power of good, and do not dismiss the strength of the child.
Yes, every Wednesday evening on Revolution Radio, come join our very own Eye Investigatrix, Monique Lassan, with her private Eye X-Files.
So you're the finder of lost children?
Private Eye X-Files, every Wednesday from 10 to midnight Eastern, Studio B, on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
I realize it's very hard for you to take in. But is your destiny to find the golden child?
Most guys freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
The body's filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. Your heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling it to run, but your knees are too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting to danger. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution. Radio.